If you want to support Black-owned and operated businesses in the Grand Strand area and beyond, check out thenetworkconnects.com for a complete list of establishments in our local area. Our network connects Black businesses to community for a wide range of services, products, organizations, and resources that are viable in the African American community. You'll find a wide range of products and services that'll fit your needs, along with information about events and happenings around the local communities. Check out thenetworkconnects.com, connecting Black businesses to community. Thenetworkconnects.com.
Hey, Dr. Mac, how are you?
All right. How about you?
I'm doing just fine. It's Friday. You know, it's my favorite day of the week.
Yes, yes.
All right. And you got some different digs there. You don't, it doesn't appear like you're in your doctor's office.
No. I'm not. A little bit different venue today.
Okay. All right. Well, you look comfortable. You look relaxed. You look like you're kind of glad to be out of the office.
Yeah, just for a little bit. That won't last long, no.
It certainly won't. Well, of course, thank you for joining me today, and thank you all for watching today. This is the Network Live, and I'm April Garner, the network founder, and of course, I have the one and only Dr. Winston D. McIver Jr. joining me today, as always, with your weekly COVID-19 updates. We have kind of been out of pocket for the last couple of weeks as we transitioned into the new year. Of course, Dr. Mag had some things going on, and we were trying to kind of get our bearings for the first of the year. But one thing is for sure, one thing that is still constant is the fact that we are dealing with COVID-19. We're still in a pandemic, and we still have a lot of things that we need to be considerate of and cautious about. And so Dr. Mack is here today, of course, to share his COVID-19 updates. And then, of course, we're going to get into some information about some special events that are happening starting this weekend. We have two very special guests who joined us earlier this week on the Whittemore Community Magazine's live Hour of Power. And we had to have them back for the Network Live to just, reinforce the message that there's some great things coming up starting this weekend in celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So in just a little while, we're going to have Reverend Jerry Falk and Ms. Marcella Swans joining us, and I can't wait to talk to them about why it's important for us to continue to celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all of the wonderful things that they've worked with their committees to plan for this year. So, Dr. Mack, I know that we put together, of course, our usual slideshow. Do you want to get right into that? And
we can do that. What I'd like to say first is I'm on a different device to do the show today, so I can't see if there's any questions. Normally I can see that from my computer, but I'm actually on my iPhone right now, so I don't see where there may be any questions, if there are any.
Okay, all right. No wonder the picture's so crisp and clear. It looks real good.
But
I'm jealous of the iPhone cameras.
My phone locked up, and so I had to get a new iPhone. So it's a little bit more high tech, I guess. I don't need all that fancy stuff, though.
Right, I got you.
I just can't see. Normally, I'm on my computer, and I could see the questions on the margin. But I can't see if there are any questions. I just want to say that.
Okay, so what we're going to say then is that if you are tuning in from Dr. Mack's page, his Facebook page, I don't know if he can see those questions or not, but if you will, you can go to my page, or you can go to the network group. You can also go to any of the pages that I've shared this, the Horry Black Community United. I've also shared this on the Conway Horry County MLK Planning Committee's MLK page, and the Whittemore Community Magazine's page on Facebook. If you would drop your questions or comments in on those pages, then we can get to it. You're also able to drop questions on our YouTube channel for the Network Connects. So that is the Network Connects Live, and I will filter those questions in for Dr. Mack. Just want to also make mention that we are also streaming live on the Emmanuel Nye Memorial Foundation page in Charleston, South Carolina. And of course, we always want to thank them for being a destination for our Network Live broadcast every week. Thank you so much, and we really do appreciate your support. And of course, as much as we can, we'd like to support the Emmanuel Nye Memorial Foundation. So hopefully early this year, we will have some representatives from that foundation to talk about their 2021 campaign and what we can do to continue to show them love and support as well. So at this time, Dr. Mack, I'm going to share the slideshow that we have.
Okay. Okay.
And then, we kind of get into it. All right.
Great. So basically, you know, as we've done for people who have, for those who have not tuned in with us before, I try to give the data, the stats, the numbers, so we'll know exactly how widespread of an issue that we have. I try to break it down into the world, United States, South Carolina, and then the counties that are in proximity to Horry County. So we'll start off with the world data. So this graph, as we see, it's continuing to go up. And there's been some fluctuations kind of at the top. Some of that thought is because there was some backlog in the data, particularly right around Christmas time, where some of the data was a little bit skewed because it had not come in where that dip was. But then the rebound up towards the very end was when all that data kind of got reaccounted for. So as we see in the world, there's a total over 93 million cases. On January 14th alone, there was almost 760,000 cases worldwide. The 14-day average of cases have gone up 23%. So just to kind of keep an idea, they're having several European countries that have been on lockdown because the numbers have gotten higher there, as well as this new variant that they've been talking about, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But just to kind of give you an idea worldwide, I think the last couple of times we did this, we may not have really talked about the worldwide data, but I wanted to reintroduce that so we can see what's going on in the world. As far as the deaths go worldwide, over 2 million. On January the 14th, there was over 15,000 deaths. And just to kind of keep that in perspective, I'll get to this in just a little bit, but you know, there was around 4,000 of those deaths were in the United States. So just to kind of keep that in perspective, worldwide, there was 15,000 deaths. That is a 2-week increase of 25%. So just to kind of understand that this is still a worldwide issue. The numbers are still going up. Some of the countries where the numbers did start to decline are seeing a rebound there. And a lot of that is due in part to what people believe is a new variant that's out. And we'll talk about the new variant and how viruses do change a little bit later. Okay.
Now, Dr. Mack, did you just say that of the 15,000 deaths worldwide, 4,000 were in the United States?
Yeah, go to the next slide real quick, then we'll come back to the world.
All right.
So, right, see that number where it says deaths right at 4,000?
Yes.
4,000 of the world's 15,000 deaths came from the United States. Wow. So that's why I want to show that world slide, so that way we can understand the gravity of this in the United States. That's what, almost a fourth, right?
Yeah, almost. Mm-hmm.
So you know, again, you know, that's kind of how it's been running. We've been running about 25% of the deaths. So again, just to kind of give us an idea, so we can go back to the other slide just real quick, the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to put that in there, just to show, you know, the world in comparison to getting to the United States in just a second. But the slide, you know, I've been asked about that dip there, and like I said earlier, that dip is thought to be because, again, that was right around Christmas time, and some of the information did not get to the folks that keep these stats and these data. So that's what that dip was. It wasn't because we had less cases. It was just because it was a holiday time and they weren't accounted for. But as
you're talking about right up in here, that little,
exactly.
Yeah, where it looks like a V, the bottom of a V. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So that kind of accounts for that dip there. Okay. All right. Next slide. The next slide talks about the United States. Again, we do see the dip there again. That dip, before we have a skyrocket up, was right around Christmas time. Again, the drop down. So the number of cases in the United States now over 23 million. On January the 14th, there was 238,000 cases. 14-day average in cases are up 27%. 27% in the last 2 weeks. The number of deaths in the United States, we're fast approaching 400,000 deaths. Okay, and the thought was back in the summer, at the rate we were going, that there would be 400,000 deaths by February the 1st, and pretty much right there. As far as the deaths on the 14th, we had right under 4,000 deaths, which the deaths in the last 2 weeks increased 39%. Now, just to keep this in perspective, we've had a couple days where it's been over 4,000 deaths in one day. That would be the equivalent of 20 737s crashing that day. I think last Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, we had 4,100 deaths. That's the equivalent of 20 737s crashing that day. Just to kind of keep it in perspective of the deaths that are happening and the severity and the toll. But again, it's been up 39, almost 40% in the last 2 weeks. And the hospitalizations, as of January 14th, there were almost 130,000 people hospitalized with COVID, which was up 7% in the last 14 days. Now, as we saw about 4 weeks ago, the number of hospitalizations were up around 22, 25, 30%. And as I said earlier, the trend is when the hospitalizations go up, particularly in the 15 to 25% range, you will see a spike in the deaths. And that's exactly what's happened. Hospitalizations are a reflector of deaths that are likely to come. How much percentage of death increase, we don't know. It varies. It depends on what stage the person is when they get to the hospital with COVID, whether they've got pneumonia in one lung, two lungs, whether they've got a blood clot related to COVID, or stroke related to COVID. It depends on what the case is, what the comorbid or the additional medicine they have. But when you see a hospitalization rate with this COVID, and it's been predictable, in the teens, 20s, 2 to 4 weeks later, the deaths will go up. So that's what we're seeing right now, the increase in the deaths. And so again, it's an issue, and it's something that that we just have to make sure we understand that this isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Exactly. Well, Dr. Mack, on a local level, I've read some reports about the fact that, our hospitals are still overtaxed, very little room and that type of thing. Are we running into any crisis situations where we don't have enough space for COVID patients? And I know it's happening across the United States, but it's happening here.
Right. The hospitalizations are high. A lot of the hospitals are at capacity, not as much as, let's say, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, because a lot of those people have died. A number of them have gotten better and have gone home, but a lot of them, as we see, the deaths have gone up almost 40% in the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, that hospital number, that 7% now, I think it was about 20% when we did this the last time.
Yeah,
so,
you're
right. So again, that's the kind of factors that we're seeing here, and how if the hospitalizations go up, you can expect a certain number of those people to die.
And I think, and I think your point about the comorbidities, I believe that, that was always a challenge for us as we were doing this report. People, I think that some people just want to hear flat out that, COVID is the single cause of death. And maybe it is, but at the same time, your data has shown and the research has shown that most of the time, people who are succumbing to COVID are dying because they do have some type of underlying condition. And so, that's what makes this so deadly. If you have, for example, a kidney ailment or a respiratory ailment or diabetes or whatever the case is, COVID is exacerbating the situation.
Right.
And, but people, you would think after almost a year of dealing with this that, folks would get it by now, but they still want to challenge and debate that information. But, it's the truth. I mean, it's the fact of what's going on with people.
And the other thing too is if they didn't come into the hospital with a comorbid condition, if they didn't have a comorbid condition before COVID, they can come into the hospital with one, like a blood clot, like a heart attack, like kidney failure that was COVID related. And so, the saddest thing, one of the saddest things, up for a while, because I have now well over 350 patients with COVID. I've had my youngest patient die here just last week, and she was late 30s, and she went into kidney failure. And so, by the time she got to the hospital, she was septic, she had infection throughout her blood, and she ended up dying from kidney failure. And so again, COVID-induced kidney failure. And so again, and she had pneumonia in both lungs also.
Oh, yes.
So again, even if people don't have these comorbid conditions or these other medical conditions before COVID, they're coming in a lot of times with other conditions like pneumonia or kidney failure, that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So that's the South Carolina. South Carolina data. Yeah, we did US already, right?
Yeah, I think you touched on that. Yeah, you were talking about both of those.
Okay, so in South Carolina, as we see, the numbers are still higher compared to any other time we had before. It's been a total of over 370,000 cases. On January, there's right under 6,000, and that's a 47% increase in cases in the last 2 weeks. Almost 50% increase in cases in the last 2 weeks. The number of deaths, right at 6,000. A little over 6,000. On the 14th, it was 23 deaths, which is up 8%. And hospitalizations right now, there's a little over 2,500 people hospitalized with COVID, and that's up 28% in the last 2 weeks. Now, again, the concerning thing with this graph, as I said before, when the deaths, when the hospitalizations are up, usually the trend is showing 2 to 4 weeks later, the deaths will start to go up. So that's the concerning thing with this graph, is that we've got a lot more people that are hospitalized. Like I said, anytime it's in the teens and the 20s with hospitalizations, you can expect there to be an increased number of deaths. So unfortunately, that number will probably go up. I hate to say that. That's statistically and historically what's been shown. Okay, so just kind of watching that. Now, individual counties, Horry County here first, number of deaths, right under 300 confirmed, and another 73 probable. In other words, those people had COVID-like symptoms, but before they could get tested, they died. So that's where the probable comes from. They had enough symptoms, signs and symptoms to make that physician think that this was COVID related, and that's where the probable comes from. Okay. For a while, they were lumping them together, but now they're kind of sorting them out based off of whether they actually had the positive confirmed test. Okay, that's it. That's deaths in Horry County. Total positive cases in Horry County over 21,000, and positive and probable 3623. Now that could have been because there may have been some studies that are still in the pike that have not been resulted yet.
And what's the time frame for these stats?
This is overall.
This is overall. Okay.
Right. This is historical Horry County.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. The next slide is, I think, Georgetown County.
Georgetown County.
As far as the deaths go, 71 with another 29 probable. And as far as the cases go, 3,500 confirmed and another 1,200 probable. Okay. And the last county is Marion, 72 confirmed, 8 probable deaths, positive cases, 2,300 with another 185 probable. Okay.
And I know you always kind of put somewhat of a disclaimer out there that this is based on, what we know. There are there's deaths and cases that are out there that we don't know of because people are dying in their homes, and a lot of people have not been tested yet.
Right. And what's happening is, let's say in a lot of cases, let's say if the husband tested positive and the wife didn't get tested, a lot of times the wife's not getting tested or the spouse is not getting tested. They're just staying at home and quarantining. And if they would have gotten tested, they probably would have been positive too. So that's something that we're seeing a lot too, where folks are just saying, look, my husband's got it. I probably got it. I'm not going to go and get tested. He's got to be isolated. I'll just stay here and isolate too. So that's numbers. One of the reasons why numbers are likely under what they really, really are.
Exactly. And, I was just thinking about the counties that we typically highlight. We're going to have to start adding Charleston to this mix.
Yeah. We'll do that.
Start doing that. Yeah.
Next time we will do that for my family down in Charleston.
That sounds great. Okay.
Yeah. So, a couple talking points before I wrap up with this. Number one, of course, we've heard about the new variant of the virus. Okay, let me say this about viruses. Okay, viruses will change. That's the reason why we'll never find a cure for the common cold. We can put a man on the moon, but we can't find a cure for a common cold. Okay, here's the deal. Every year, viruses make a minor change. It's called a drift. Every 7 to 10 years, viruses will make a little more of a major change called a shift. Every 100 years or so, we'll have a huge super new virus that comes out called a pandemic. So that's the reason why the flu shot is a different shot every year, because the virus changes a little bit every year. The issue with this virus, though, is because it's a totally new virus, we're seeing variations of this virus faster than what we would normally see. The question is, will the shots that we have now give protection? And the likelihood is that they will to some degree. Or if you don't get total protection, you shouldn't be as sick as if you had not gotten it. Okay? But viruses change. That's not a surprise. Viruses change. Okay? So again, what this means really, in my mind, and a lot of people's minds, is that the virus has been here longer than we thought.
Oh yeah, I believe that.
So again, for a virus to change like that, it typically means that it has already been here and already had its season for that particular virus, that exact virus, and it's made a little change, just a little bit to the left. And so again, that happens. But again, the vaccine should cover that.
So that is our last slide. So I'm gonna stop sharing our slide for right now. But what I want to ask is about, since we were on the topic real quick of the vaccine. Now the persons who've already received a dose of the vaccine, they're also getting a second dose within 2 weeks or so.
Well, what happens is it depends on the type of virus, on which virus. So the Pfizer virus, that second shot is 21 days later.
Okay.
The Moderna vaccine is 28 days later.
So it's 21 and 28 days.
Right. So it depends on which vaccine it is. One of the major differences is that the Pfizer vaccine has to be kept at super cold temperatures, whereas the Moderna doesn't have to be kept as cold. There'll soon be a third vaccine that'll be out, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which will just be one shot. So
why is there a need for two shots right now, the Pfizer and Moderna?
Well, because what happens is with those viruses, they're not the way they're genetically and structurally made, you won't get the full antibody production with just one shot. You'll start to get some antibody production to help fight off COVID after about 2 to 3 weeks, but you need that second as kind of a booster to make sure the antibody count gets as high as it needs to get to protect you.
Okay. It's sort of like, not cut you off, but sort of like when children used to get booster shots.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
But because this is a totally different technology, so let me say this to kind of, because it's some things that are going around about the vaccine coming out so fast. Okay, let me say this: this new mRNA technology is not new. It's been talked about for decades. Okay, so let me first say that the reason why this vaccine can be produced so fast is because the other vaccines that we know that we would talk about that took years and years, they had to use eggs as a medium to help that virus grow. Okay, so they would inject the eggs to help the vaccine be produced like it needed to be produced. That's why when they ask you about vaccines, they'll ask you if you have an egg allergy.
Oh, we just learned something new. Okay.
I want to make sure I talked about that so people can understand that process. Okay, so that's the reason why it takes so long for those vaccines in the past to be produced, because they're dependent on eggs and the eggs to grow what we call in the medium to allow more vaccine to be extracted from that. Whereas this new technology only takes particles, proteins, not the virus, but particles to allow that process to happen. So it doesn't have to have this long drawn out time to have this vaccine develop. So that's kind of the difference between the new mRNA vaccines and the old vaccines that we're familiar with.
That's incredible. And so how do they keep up with it, considering the fact that this virus is mutating?
Well, again, all viruses will mutate.
Okay.
So again, that's not a surprise.
Okay.
So what happens is you would think, okay, let's say if you got the flu vaccine in 2020, okay, and that vaccine, I'll just throw out a number. Let's just say if it was 80% effective, right? If you gave that person the same vaccine in 2021, it might only be 40% effective. It still has some effectiveness, but just not as much as it did the year before because the virus has changed just a little bit. Okay? And so that's one of the things I want to bring up about that. Now, the other thing, and this is a question that I get asked all the time, and again, it's hard for me to answer this question 100% because I don't know the answer. I just don't know the answer. I'm being asked, how safe is this vaccine? Okay, I'm a numbers guy. Okay, and when I look at medicines, vaccines, I look at the studies, I look at the data, and there just is no huge data right now because this is a new vaccine. So people are asking me all the time, should I take the shot? Should I take the shot? Should I take the shot? My answer is that if you have a lot of medical problems, if you live with somebody that is older with a lot of medical problems, if your health is not the best, then you should strongly consider taking this vaccine. Okay? I can't tell you though, nor can anybody tell you if anything is going to happen. The data has so far showed that nothing's going to happen, but I can't, in all honesty, and I'm just keeping it real and shooting it straight, I can't tell you that. Nobody can tell you that 100%. Are there going to be some people that will have a side effect from getting this vaccine? Sure. There are people that have allergic reactions to the flu vaccine. There are people that have
everyday medicines.
Have everyday medicines. There are people that have allergic reactions to the pneumonia shot, the shingles shot. There's some people that will have that. Again, like I said, a lot of these vaccines are developed in an egg medium, and some people don't even know they have an egg allergy. And so again, so again, I'm not going to sit here and say that that I know this vaccine is 100% safe. But what I am going to tell you is that people are dying. And what I am going to tell you is that you have to make that individual decision for yourself. I've talked to a lot of people that are anti-vaccine, they're anti-vaxxers, and I don't vaccine shame anybody. But the only thing I asked for them is, what is the alternative to all these people dying? And so that's what I'm saying. I will say this, and I get asked this a lot. Have I taken the vaccine? And I have not taken it yet. I'm not saying that I'm not going to. But I'm always going to be a person that's going to keep it real. I'm not going to tell you I took it and I didn't take it. I'm a numbers person. I most likely will take the vaccine, but I want to see when the Johnson & Johnson comes out and look at the numbers. I'm just being honest. Some of my colleagues will look at me and they'll say, well, Mac, I can't believe you didn't take this vaccine yet.
Well, no, what you've done is you've humanized it, because, I mean, even though you are a doctor, it does not mean that you won't think the way that the average person thinks, which is, I want to be cautious. I want to be sure this vaccine hasn't been out long enough. I don't want to be one of the first or whatever. I'm not saying those are your thoughts, but everything that we've talked about has been about the science and the facts and the data. So yeah, naturally you would want to know.
Right. Now, I will say this. If I had a lot of medical problems, I would definitely have taken this vaccine by now. Now, again, that's me. I'm just talking me. And I hesitated in whether or not even to say that. But my me is me. My honesty is my honesty. And it's what it is. And I stand behind everything I say. And again, this is what I'm saying. Saying I'm not going to take it. But what I am saying is, if you got a lot of medical problems, you definitely want to look at this vaccine, because it will get worse. This COVID and the COVID deaths will get worse before it gets better.
Absolutely.
We can go into all the theories about the vaccine and this and that. And I'm not even saying some of that stuff doesn't have legitimate merit. I'm not even saying, it's a lot of people ask me questions about Bill Gates and his role in this. Again, it's hard to kind of explain some of that stuff when you got somebody pushing the vaccines who believes in population control. I get it. But my comeback to that is, people are dying.
Right.
And people of color are dying disproportionately.
There's a question that's come in. Who should get the vaccine at this point? We know that there's been a vaccine rollout.
Right.
In South Carolina was that, according to the governor, there wasn't enough. It wasn't rolling out fast enough. But we know that frontline workers, meaning in hospitals, have already started receiving it. And at this point, I think the latest is that individuals who are 70 and older should start. I actually had a conversation this morning with someone who was in that category, and she's pretty much saying kind of like what you're saying, in that, she's older and she just wants to protect herself. And so she's thinking she's going to go ahead and make it happen. So who really should get it at this point?
Well, right now, like you said, the governor announced a couple of days ago that patients 70 and older, now they're rolling that out, because there's a lot of vaccine that's still left on the shelf, and they decided to go ahead and roll out the next phase sooner than they had anticipated. What happened? The government came out with their phased-in approach. During the month of December, they were expecting to give 20 million shots. They'd only given about 4. So instead of those vaccines sitting on the shelf, they decided to go ahead. The state said, we don't like the way this is rolling out, because we've got a lot of people who were in phase 1A who are not getting it. Let's go ahead and roll this out to where we have the next group of people be eligible to get it. And that's the ages of 70 and up. That came about.
Right. Have you read anything that indicates that they've, I guess, increased the vaccinations in nursing homes and places where we are still seeing?
They were one of the earlier people to get it, and
Okay.
a lot of them were getting the Moderna vaccine because it doesn't have to be kept at super.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure that, folks will continue to have questions about the vaccine. Those questions aren't going to go away with just a few, vaccination testimonials. And it's natural that people will have, those questions. And all we can continue to do is to tell them to educate themselves, do the research, follow a reputable source, which, we have one here today. And he's going to give it to you straight, no chaser. So, you can choose to follow who you want to follow. But I'm like you, Dr. Mack. I am weighing my options because I do have a couple of things that I'm concerned about health-wise. And it just, and I'm going to be totally transparent with a recent COVID scare. Thank God my test came back negative. It really made me sit up in my bed and say, wait a minute, it doesn't matter how cautious you are, how careful you are. It only takes one time to possibly become infected and to affect others. And so, we just have to make sure that we're doing all we can and just taking in the information with an open mind and, considering all of the factors. And the only option that is really to just stay in your house as much as possible and, and not be in and about, crowds and things like that, which we've pushed so much, yet people still need to get on with their lives and they still need to move forward. So you just, we have to do what we have to do. Yes. But you're right. There is no one size fits all answer for this.
The other thing too, I want to say is I want to thank all the people that have come out to Friendship to get tested.
Absolutely.
I've been collaborating with a couple different entities, including DHEC, to try to get these testing done in the community. When I got a call about this, the question was, well, Dr. Mack, what can we do to help you? What can we do? And the question was, and my answer was, let's get some testing in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Let's get some done in the neighborhood. We've got a lot of different testing sites, all throughout the Grand Strand, Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, Murrells Inlet, Georgetown area. I said, let's get some in Conway. So as long as we can get the people coming out, I'll continue to do it. We've tested, well over 750 people so far. The last test was the biggest, and we did last week, and another testing site there at Friendship, February the 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, February the 1st, and
it's going to be another 8 to 2.
8 to 2. That's the plan. 8 to 2, February the 1st at Friendship, and we chose Friendship because it can help with inclement weather. So if it's raining, there's an overhang there where people can get out, where people aren't getting out of their car. Reverend P has been helpful enough to me to allow this to take place. And so my goal is to try to get, at least 1,000 people tested throughout this project that I've been doing. So far we've been doing good. People have been coming out. And so I'm happy about it. And again, it helps protect the community. It helps protect your family, and it helps protect yourself. And so people are dying, and again, people are getting sick. And the part to it, and I've said this before, and I'll kind of reiterate it in the short version, is that whenever we talk about COVID, we talk about recovery. And a lot of times people talk about that in terms of whether you lived or died. But there's some people, I've got a number of patients who have lung issues that was not that bad before COVID, and now they've got major lung issues and on oxygen right now. Yes, they lived. Yes, they got out of the hospital, but their COPD, their asthma, their has gotten worse. Did that person truly recover? I don't know if you can call it recovery. I know you say they lived, but did they really recover? I don't think so, because they didn't go in the hospital. I mean, they came out of the hospital worse than when they went in. Right, than 3 months prior to going in. So again, it's not just what's happening now; it's also the long-term effect of this. How it's affecting you mentally. I've had several patients now that have had strokes related to COVID. I had several patients that had heart attacks related to COVID. Several patients, that have had blood clots related to COVID. We know it's an inflammatory condition. It will thicken up the blood, and it will limit blood flow to certain organs. Limit blood flow to the brain, you got a stroke. Limit blood flow to the kidneys, you got kidney failure. Limit blood flow to the heart, you got a heart attack. Limit blood flow to your legs, you
right. I think you said one time before, it's kind of likening it to having dirty oil in your car.
Yeah, it gets thick, what we call viscous.
Mm-hmm.
The viscosity increases, the thickness increases, and it's not allowing the proper blood flow. If those organs don't get the proper blood flow, they're not getting the proper oxygen. If they don't get the proper oxygen, those tissues will die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's domino effect.
Right. There's a question that I want to go to real quick, and thank you all for your comments. We really do appreciate all of your support and, just the encouragement for, Dr. Mack coming on and giving us information. And, we're just trying to do what we can do to educate the community. So thank you all so much. A question from Rosa Vereen. She wants to know, will they deliver vaccines in our community? Do you think that's going to happen since they are doing testing in the communities?
Well, I right now, I don't think the state really knows right now how they're going to roll this stuff. I think that because it's new, they're kind of transitioning faster than what was initially planned. I can foresee pharmacies starting to give these vaccines. I can foresee, health departments setting up giving these vaccines. I can foresee schools being places to set up to give these vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that right now the states are trying to figure out how to effectively disseminate these vaccines, and right now the state, they really don't know.
They don't know.
The hospitals aren't going to be able to do them all by themselves.
Right.
It's too many people. So
that's one of that was one. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say that was one of the things that the person I was speaking to today, once again, she's over 70, and she said that, that's what she's hearing within her community, so to say, is that there's just not enough help. And we were trying to brainstorm like how that could happen. And I said, well, they might be able to reach out to some of these colleges that have, nursing students who know how to administer shots or whatever the case is. And she was like, well, all of those students are kind of going away. And I said, well, it's just that we have challenges in higher ed trying to make sure that we keep the students in the flow. But you're right, there's a lot of challenges that not only the state, but I think, just the nation as a whole just do not, they don't know how to address these challenges.
Tidelands has actually been advertising, hiring folks to help give these vaccines.
Right.
And data entry to help them, log this stuff in.
Log the information in, exactly.
Yeah, so I know they're looking, they're trying. Again, now it's kind of gotten down to the individual states who are deciding what's best to give, and how to give it. For a while, South Carolina has led the nation in nursing home deaths related to COVID. So that's very important to get these vaccines into the nursing homes. Yeah, not only to the residents, but the employees also.
Exactly. And unfortunately, reports are saying that we're kind of last as far as the dissemination of the vaccine. It's not a good look. Right. It is what it is. There's another question from Paul Campbell out of Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you, Paul, for tuning in today. After getting vaccinated, should people still get regularly tested?
I think so. I think so, because again, the vaccines aren't 100%. That right now they're running about 90%. So which means 9 out of 10 should be covered. How long these antibodies are going to last from the vaccine, we don't know, because it's a new vaccine. So I certainly feel like, definitely after 3 months from getting the vaccine, I would still get tested.
Okay. All right. Well, Dr. Mack, this has been some great information today. I know sometimes we say we're going to, chisel off down, and then we get to talking, and it is.
Now, one thing I'm going to do too, and April and I talked about this, and I actually talked to a couple of my colleagues who I know have been staying on top of this as well, to try to see if I can get some other other docs to come on from different parts of the country.
I think that would be great.
Right. So that way they can kind of talk about their experience in other parts. I talked to one of them in particular that I really wanted to go, and he going to come on. He's like, "Well, Mac, I can't say nothing any different than what you're saying." I said, "Well, yes, you can, because you're giving it from a different perspective." But again, I'm gonna see about doing that sometime in the near future. I've reached out to two that I really trust, and timing just hadn't worked out. But I'm gonna see if I can convince one of those two to come on to kind of give their talk about it, and to kind of hear from another person as well, particularly in a different area and what they're doing. So
right, and I think it would just be confirmation that yes, it is happening in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
That's another part of it.
Yeah, I've got a number of my classmates that listen to our show, and they give me thumbs up, give us thumbs up about what we're doing, and saying that the community is fortunate. That's in their words. Community is fortunate to have us who are doing this and committed to doing this on a regular basis. But I'm working on doing that. So we'll hopefully be able to get that done soon.
Okay. So Dorothy Reeves says an oncologist would be interesting. And then, of course, our brother Evan McQueen, who's listening in, he asked about whether or not COVID affects the hearing. So an audiologist might be interesting to have on, and you may know already, Dr. Mack, whether or not COVID can affect other parts of the body or other functions in the body other than what's going on with the organs.
Potentially it can.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll work on that. We've got plenty of time and opportunity. And again, just want to thank you for taking the time. I know that you are out of town supporting family and doing what you got to do. But nonetheless, you're here giving us this great report. And I certainly look forward to it today. You guys remain safe. And we're going to get into the second part of the show with our other special guests. So is there anything you want to leave everybody with? I know we like to leave them with the positive as well.
Yeah, the positive is that, people are getting through this. And with the vaccine coming out, it will help. As more people get it, the numbers should start to go down. We just don't know when that turn is going to happen. And now we just don't know. But again, time the hospitalization rate goes up, particularly in a 2-week time period, 15, 20, 30%. The likelihood is that the number of deaths are going to go up. The big thing with that is just how soon that person gets to the hospital and how sick they are when they get there.
Exactly.
Now, those are the two biggest variables with that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Mack. And, again, have a safe weekend. Of course, we have a lot of MLK events coming up, and
yes.
Them are virtual, so hopefully you guys can catch them.
Yes.
And, so we're getting ready to hear about that wonderful stuff. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Take care. Okay. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
All right. So we're going to take just a really quick break, and then we'll be right back with our next guest.
If you want to support Black-owned and operated businesses in the Grand Strand area and beyond, check out thenetworkconnects.com for a complete list of establishments in our local area. Our network connects Black businesses to community for a wide range of services, products, organizations, and resources that are viable in the African American community. You'll find a wide range of products and services that'll fit your needs, along with information about events and happenings around the local communities. Check out thenetworkconnects.com, connecting Black businesses to community. Thenetworkconnects.com.
All right, and we are back. This is the Network Live, and I'm very pleased to welcome two very special guests with us today. Of course, we have Ms. Marcella Swans and Reverend Jerry Falk, who are the organizers of the MLK events that are happening starting this weekend. So thank you both for being with us today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us back on. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And so I want to start, of course, with just a congratulations to Reverend Jerry Falk. He was awarded the Quilt of Valor today at a ceremony out in Market Commons. He was Absolutely. And the other day, Brother Edward said you were a Marine. He says I still am. So look, if we need you on the front line, now get ready. But
I'm ready.
okay, I believe that as well. I believe that. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
We certainly know that. So we've got some great events lined up, and I wanted to make sure that we share that information today. We've talked about it all week. We've been sharing it across social media. Very instrumental in making sure that the MLK celebrations are happening throughout Horry County. And of course, I'm going to go with ladies first. And
thank you.
Marcella has been so gracious to give us some time, and she has company. And so I want to make sure that she's able to get back to her beautiful family. But first of all, thank you for being a part of this today and for carrying the torch in the spirit of your late great husband and everyone who has worked to make sure that these events happen every single year. So, Ms. Marcella, why don't you tell us what's going on with the Grand Strand MLK events?
Okay, thank you, April. We are going to have tomorrow, following up what Dr. McIver said about testing COVID in the community. We're going to have a drive-through testing, COVID testing at Mount Olive AME Church, and that's going to be from 9 to 12. We also are going to have, all events are virtual due to the COVID, and we are having a church service on Sunday, and that will be at 4 o'clock. We're also on Tuesday having several workshops. One of the workshops, economic development workshop. We're also going to have a small business workshop, and that's going to be on Tuesday. These will all be virtual. We're going to also have an employment workshop, and that's going to be open to the public, and that's going to be at Crabtree, at the Crabtree Recreation Center in Market Commons. The committee has worked very hard on all these events to ensure that we are addressing health issues, employment issues, and giving our community information, needed information. Due to the COVID, we're not going to have the awards breakfast this year. We are going to have it. It's just being postponed. We're not going to have it on Monday, which is our normal date to have it. But we will be announcing when we will be having this MLK Drum Major Awards program. But I am going to say who were the recipients this year. We decided to give only 2 awards this year, and our Community Service Award goes to none other than April Gardner. Her work speaks for her. We thought that she would be the most appropriate person to receive this year. And we also developed a special award, which is the Benny Swan's Heritage Award. Mm-hmm. And we're going to give that to Dr. Lloyd Thomas Reed out of Philadelphia, who also has started a Carolina Reinvestment organization here in Georgetown, South Carolina. And this group deals with kids whose parents are incarcerated. He has a recovery program, an educational center in Philadelphia, and he felt it not robbery to come down here and also get involved in community. So that's what we're doing this weekend. And we have linked, you can go to our website, which is Carolina African American Heritage Foundation.com. It's short, oh, she's got it on the screen. Thank you, April. That way you can be linked to any of our virtual workshops and events. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And, again, thank you all so much for the Drum Major Award. It is an incredible honor. I'm humbled and just very appreciative of the recognition. And I have so many powerful mentors in the community. And so I have a lot of great examples to follow. And, we all have to take up the charge to do the work in the community. And sometimes it is without any type of award or acknowledgement, but you can't be in it for that type of pat on the back all the time. You have to just be in it because you authentically and organically want to be the change in your community. And so I thank you all, and definitely look forward to more information about that event. And I think you have just such a wonderful lineup of events. And it takes a lot to put together like a week's worth of events. I mean, we've been trying to put together a couple of days of events. Can't imagine trying to put together a week's worth with all the moving parts. But you all have certainly done an amazing job. And, so I just want to give you an opportunity now as well to talk about just real quickly, now, especially now, and Reverend Falk, if you'll chime in on this as well, why is it so important now with our challenges to democracy that we actually have events like this?
Because we need to understand that we can accomplish things, we can change things. And I think that when you get to a point where you feel that there's nothing that you can do, you can look back at those individuals who were determined and continued to strive to do those things to help their community. And I think that Dr. King was an individual who did that, and we cannot question the changes that he made in terms of our Black history. And I think we need to be reminded that that you need to stick to things and continue to do those things that can improve your community.
Absolutely.
Help me out here.
Every time I read, it kind of informs me of how far we still have to go.
Yes.
Even looking back, it's amazing that as long as we've been here, we're still telling new stories about us as a people, about the progresses that have been made because of our people. And yet sometimes it says we still have a long ways to go. And I think that we're going to kind of have to change or bend a little bit in bringing our young people more into focus about what is and what was our history really like.
Yes.
And I think that to me is a great motivation for them, because sometimes to me is if you don't understand, don't expect them to be appreciative. And I think sometimes just giving them the opportunities to experience something as to how things used to be. I think sometimes we, even as adults, sometimes forget that.
Yes.
And we think that because we have jumped the ditch, and I'm using that country slang, because when you jump over the ditch, you think that's it. You got to jump over the ditch. We're still jumping over ditches.
Yes, we are.
And so we have to continue to do this, in sense to encourage our young people that not only have we survived, but we continue to grow strong and continue to be knowledgeable of our history, not only around us, but our history as it pertains to those who've come before us. Yeah. We can never forget that. Every generation to me is a bridge. And how they got across might have been different from how others got across, but yet still, it was still a bridge. And so I think this is very important. And can I just be honest? I'm praying that we can do this more often.
Yes.
Than just special times of the year. That we as adults, we as different adults in different work areas, expertise, come together and just have roundtable talks about what we can do to make our community better. If we're not satisfied with the way our community is, then let's come together and let's fix it. It takes all of us to fix whatever's wrong with it. So I'm looking. I'm always encouraged. It is something that I really feel that every day when you can see from where we've come from.
Yes.
You got to feel good. And so we have to reach out. We as a people, we have to learn to reach out. We don't always have to agree, but we ought to be reaching out to each other. Nobody else is going to reach out to us. Like we should reach out to one another. And so I think we have to keep doing these things. Maybe even an expansion on doing plays. Having our youth come together and with our youth, what we're doing this year because of the COVID, they're actually putting together films, putting together videos. How wonderful it would be if this is something that can continue, say throughout the year. Doesn't have to be every month, but just kind of keeping that fire close to them, because if that's something that you enjoy doing, that could be your livelihood right there. But we are planning on Saturday. Our youth are going to be doing, and youth advisors are going to be doing different video projects and whatnot, and those students are going to be judged on that on Saturday, and then on Monday they will be recognized. The winners will be recognized. Pretty much all of the youth who participate will be recognized. On Monday at 12 noon, we have the representative Wendy Brawley from District 7 will be our keynote speaker on Monday. I want to encourage everybody that can. Just because it's virtual don't mean that it won't be exciting.
Right.
But this keeps everybody safe while we can have a great level of enjoyment. And so we would welcome you to view with us, be with us on Saturday, as well as on Monday. April, again, let me commend you, Dr. McIver, for an extraordinary job. This people say, well, I think President Trump said after December they were talking about you'll be talking about COVID. You know what? We're still talking about it. And we have to talk about it because there are people close to us in our space to whom it is affecting.
Yes.
And so we commend you for what you are doing. We can't say we don't know anymore. We do know. The question is, what do we want to do about it? We have the options. But again, I want to commend you for what you're doing. On yesterday, just briefly, I was talking with some of the fellow pastors, ministers that took place, that was a part of the Conway boycott. Reverend Wallace Evans, Reverend Kenneth Floyd, Reverend Otis Stevens, Reverend Jonathan Green, myself, and we were just talking about the climate of that time. And how it was, you had to almost fight on both ends. You had to fight sometimes folk who was in your community and certain folk outside of your community. And so, but we have to stay in the path of bringing about what changes we think that need to be done. If you don't really live in my community, it's hard for you to say to me what we need to do. If you're not living how I'm living, you don't have the issues that I have when it comes to my safety and that kind of thing. And so so we there's a whole lot we can do in partnership together, sharing with one another. And so I'm excited, looking to hear from Representative Wendy Brawley. First of all, a sister,
A very powerful, impactful sister too.
Very powerful, very
Yeah.
powerful.
Lots of respect for her.
And she won an special election in 2017. And her area includes Southeast Columbia, Lower Richland, and parts of Sumter County.
Right.
And so we are excited about having it to come and share with us. She is co-founder and publisher of CEO of IMARA Woman Magazine. And so we're just excited to have her come to us by virtue. And my prayer is that COVID will slowly move away, and so we certainly to get her back here in live, in person, in dealing not just perhaps with just one issue, but dealing with an issue or issues as she sees them, and actually challenging us as a community as to what we need to do and how it need to be done. So I'm we can't stay where we are. We got to keep moving. And maybe perhaps she can encourage some other young girl, a young boy. I want to get in the race. I want to run for office. I don't just want to vote. I want to get in the race. I want to run for office. I want to see what else I can do for my community. And so I think all of these things are necessary for the times that we're living. We may not want to give headway to anybody, but I think that if we are not willing to push our young people and allow them to make whatever little mistakes they have to make in order to become great for our communities, to me, it's well worth it.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I think that once again, these events are so necessary, and it's great that we're trying to include the youth as much as possible, young people.
Yes.
Yesterday, because at some point, all of you will have to pass the torch, and we need now to know how to do all of this. And so, as much as possible, and I've had so many talks with a lot of my mentors about that, and the fact, right now, people, young people, they're seeing the dirty of politics, but there is good in politics as well. But they've got to understand how to balance that, and how to prepare themselves for the long, hard shots, because sometimes they might have to get in the trenches in order to make things happen. But, we can't be fearful of it, because as we see, there is a really big disparity when it comes down to government and politics. Our faces aren't always seen in government and politics. And that means if our faces aren't seen, then our voices aren't really heard. This is one way that we can do that, just by having these type of empowerment events. And I can't get over the fact that it's impressive to have a week of events. And I think every geographic area is different based upon what their little community needs and can do. And even Saturday has kind of evolved from a day of community service to now having a virtual component that's so necessary because of COVID, as well as the Myrtle Beach event. So, we're still doing what we have to do to make sure that we get there. Out, and we'll continue to do that. So I just wanted to, just like, one of the icons that I love as well, Ms. Marjorie McIver says, "Thank you for picking up the torch," and she's right, and I think that message was definitely to you, Miss Marcella, because it definitely, I'm sure you're filling some really big shoes, but you were right there beside those shoes. So I'm sure you're eating, sleeping, living, and breathing it. Just like Ms. Janara is with Jerry Falk and Reverend Jerry. We have to respect all of that and do what we can, and hopefully one day our the gap will close, and maybe Conway and Myrtle Beach can do something, in a big way, even if it's one day that's dedicated to that community. And that's very necessary, because if we don't tell our story, then who's going to tell it? But I just, I've taken up a lot of your time, and I thank our viewers for listening and watching today. And I just want to, make mention that the Carolina African American Heritage Foundation has a Facebook page with all of this information posted on it, as well as the website that I posted earlier. So I'm going to put that banner back up so that you all will know where to go to get information about all of the events that are planned for the Grand Strand MLK week. And then some are virtual, and as she said, they're making adjustments as they go along. So just continue to watch those pages and websites for updates. And as far as the 41st annual Conway-Horry County MLK Planning Committee's events, tomorrow is actually the first one. I can't believe Saturday is here already. We're starting with our Zoom broadcast. And if you want to be a part of that Zoom, you need to register on the website. Give us your information so that we can email to you a link to the Zoom, and you can go to the WC Magazine website. And I'm going to put that up real quick so that you will see the registration form. Now it may be too late for the entries for the youth video contest, but if you're interested in being a part of the Zoom, please register so we can get that link out to you. But the Zoom event will happen at 12 noon tomorrow, and our special guest is Sasha Ariel Austin, a Pace University graduate, just recent graduate, and also author of Sasha Savvy Loves Coding. And she's also the owner of Sasha Ariel Ventures LLC. So she's going to talk to our young people about getting into the tech arena and being a part of these STEM careers, and why it is important for our growth and development as well. And then as Reverend Jerry Falk said, on Monday we have South Carolina State Representative Wendy Brawley. At 12 noon, the event kicks off. Now that particular event is going to be a live stream, just like this live stream is today. So everyone will be able to watch it, and it starts at 12 noon, and we have a really good lineup. So we hope to see all of you in the threads. Have a chance to comment and everything while we're going along in the program, and it's something that you can really sit back with your families and watch. These events coming up tomorrow and Monday, but also the events coming up this week that are virtual through the MLK Grand Strand Committee. So thank you both for being with me today. I really appreciate it. God blessings to you and peace. And Reverend Jerry Falk, I know we have homework. We have a meeting at 6 o'clock. So we're still working.
All right.
Okay.
But that's okay. That's what we have to do. Yeah. And so thank you both for joining me. Thank you to
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, God bless everybody. Remember, mask up, wash your hands, and stay safe.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right. Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
God bless.
Bye-bye, Jerry.